Be intentional with your time because that is one commodity that we can make more of. They say the same thing about real estate, but I'd rather have more time than real estate, especially at this phase of my life. Hey everybody, what's going on? Once again, here Michelle and Vin doing our little thing that we do here in Texas. So just want to take a moment and say thank you to everybody. I know that the communities that we're a part of, and also the communities that are our communities, have actually been growing pretty consistently over the last 7 days. And so I think that's actually going to be a good topic to talk about for this podcast is the communities, the benefits of being in a community, and potentially even starting your own community. I know, Michelle, you've been on the phone literally for the last 48 hours talking to people and connecting with people. And I think there's a lot of strength and power and an advantage, if you will, leaning into communities to just kind of get ahead. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what your last couple of days have been like?
Yeah, so it started out like on Tuesday. So Monday, Vin and I got a little encouragement, and so we actually filmed a our first podcast. And we're one of those people that it freaking when we're sick, we feel so bad, and we were down for the count the week before, as I'm still coughing, and we decided to go like hard in the paint this week. And so we did a challenge. And so the challenge was we're part of a community that it's grown over the last 18 months. It's one of our paid communities that we're about.
Now,
And
here's the funny part when you say that the challenge, that what you say that the challenge. Let's first off, let's admit the fact that this isn't a challenge somebody else put. This is a self-inflicting challenge that you decided to throw out between you and I.
well, we agreed on it
I
because
don't
I
ever
have,
remember agreeing to it, but okay.
all right, well, I have a recording. So one of the things, anyway, so we decided we've been part of this group for 18 months. We haven't really monetized the community. It's grown immensely. When we got into it, I think there was like a couple of thousand members, maybe 1,000 members. It's up to 11,000 paid members to be part of this group. And so when Vin and I we looked at this past weekend, I said, you know what? We're about a month out from going to the Squat It Summit, which is part of this community, and I want to make sure we know people. And so I gave us a challenge, and I actually extended the challenge. It was talking to 100 new people within this community, so less than 1%, less than 1%, talking to 100 people within 2 weeks. But then I started to realize 2 weeks, 100 people, and still to do everything we still have to do in our day to day lives. How about we do it for 30 days? So, Vin, since you like to call me out, how many have you done so far?
Okay, let me just stop you right there because this whole going from 2 weeks to 30 days is the first time I've heard about this. So, truth be told, I have not started doing the actual calls as of yet. Like you said, the day to day does is a constant grind in itself. So it's just an excuse, and that really is the truth. It's an excuse because I have to be more intentional and actually put my butt in gear just the way that you have. I don't know how many people are you up to? Like 20, 25 people? I'm just guessing because you've been on the phone pretty consistently for the last several days.
Yeah, so I'm counting here. So 22 individuals I have spoken to in the group. As we're growing these communities, I had someone that was in my women's community that joined just this week. She put in a deal that she needed to get funded. And we've been able to actually, in 45 minutes of the conversation, her and I, we were able to lock up a deal. So the whole point, and this is what I always tell Ben, when I'm feeling stuck, when I'm feeling we're financially like not okay in our businesses because our businesses aren't doing what we projected, or the fact that I just feel like we're not scaling or discouraged, I just start networking. I'll go to networking events. I'll get on the phone with people. I don't know. It just, it's the energy off of others and other entrepreneurs. And then it also is something for me, like when I talk to these individuals, sometimes it's like we're networking, and then I forget and realize like how far we've come and how much I can pour into someone, and what we take for granted of knowing or learning or earning and failing forward. I'm able to pour into someone and say, like, don't do that. Like I had one of my calls just today. She's in a multifamily group. And then she is also in this group, but she hasn't really done anything with it. And honestly, I had about quite a few people that were OGs in this group, and they're like, yeah, I haven't really done anything with it. And so I think we're just all at fault for doing that, right? We join communities where they get us on the irresistible offer. We're all excited, and then we don't do anything with it. And so I'm just making it a point for me. I'm enjoying it. What I will say, it has impacted my schedule, but it also has made me make sure my regular duties and everything I have to do, that I am more time management and really being able to fit in everything, because you're only as good as sales in any of your businesses. So I always talk to Vin, and I think we're all guilty of it. Like, how many RGAs are you really doing? Revenue generating activities versus, oh, I'm working and I'm doing the administrative stuff. Um, and so we just have to be mindful of that. And I know that Vin and I are both introverts. So it's hard. But once I get into the flow, like today, like what was my mood today?
Your mood's been pretty fantastic today. I will say that. And it's funny that you say there you go. Flex those arms, girl. It's funny
Gotta
that you
work them
say
out.
that. Huh?
So I
Uh,
gotta go work them out. I haven't worked out in a while.
okay, that's a whole different episode. We're not going to talk about the gym unless it's about Jim's Burgers on this one. But no, it's funny that you say that because I know it, you know it. But I don't think anybody outside of our household actually knows it 100%. You and I are introverts, but I think it's the same thing. It's that first step of any new thing, networking event, doing the cold calls, any of that. It's challenging. It's challenging, and I think you and I are very good at getting out of our own way. Like people always say, like, "Well, you don't seem like an introvert." I'm like, "Yeah, I go because anytime that we go to a networking event, at least for me personally, I go in there literally like a wrecking ball. I'll get out of the car and I'm sweaty. My palms are sweaty. I'm nervous. I feel like I'm gonna fall flat on my face as I'm walking up 3 stairs to get to the front door. But my whole thing, it's not.
I'll get that on camera next time, guys, so that I can put it up, post it up.
It's a
Because
hundred
I
percent.
don't,
Yeah,
I've never seen it. I
it's a
see
hundred.
the way
Yeah.
that I see you. You're walking in with those Jordans, and for whatever reason, the tongue is outside the Jordans, and your jeans are tucked in, and then you got your glasses, and you got your shirt, and you're like, "All right, let's go." That's how I see you. I
Yeah,
don't see you.
that's my Clark Kent before turning into Superman of walking into the room, but it's 100%. It's a persona. It's there's me that I know who I am, and then there's Invincible, which is my AKA alter part of when I go to networking events. Like anybody that knows, I even have shirts that say Invincible, and it started
Pretty cool
off.
name.
Huh? It is a pretty cool name, and I won't take credit for it. Yaya gave me that name when I was actually at a mastermind that he was speaking at. And if you guys don't know who Yaya is,
Shout out to Yaya.
he is an amazing individual, and I've had the honor and privilege of having conversations with him. And I think we were in Vegas at a 5 day mastermind or something, and we were talking, and he's just like kept saying Vin and Vin and Vin, and I'm like, okay, is this guy trying to remember what the hell my name is? We've been talking for 3 days, and then all of a sudden he like hits me like, you know what would be a great name? Invincible. I'm like, ooh, I'm like those are some big shoes to fill. I'm like, I don't know about that one. but I leaned into it, and honestly, I would say that that's my Clark Kent turning into Superman before going into these events or social media, which I used to be very active. I've kind of slowed down. I got to get back on that because there is a lot of value in it. But again, it all comes back to being comfortable in being uncomfortable with yourself, if that makes sense. Um, but 100%, like I said, we were just at a networking event. I think it was yesterday. It was very small, very intimate, a handful of people. But as I'm calling, trying to get into the building, like I'm nervous just on the phone with a complete stranger asking, "Hey, what's the door code to get in?" But my whole thing is, I don't care if it's the CEO. I don't care if it's the person putting the event together. I don't care if it's the person taking the trash out. The first person that I see as I'm walking through those doors, I shake their hand and I start having a conversation with them, and that's the icebreaker for me. After that, it's all just downhill, smooth sailing, and I can work the room probably better than most people, but it's always that first person. So again, that's just me. It could be somebody that's walking like. We've gone to networking events and there's somebody at a restaurant. Somebody could be walking out having their dinner. I have no idea who they are, but if they're walking towards me, we're having a conversation and I'm shaking hands. And then it's like, oh, what are you doing here? Oh, you're not here for the event? No, I was just having dinner. Like, well, it was great meeting you and so and so. And we've actually turned some of those conversations into PMLs. So again, it's you just never know. I think we're both very big believers of take every meeting, have every conversation, definitely try to show up to every networking event that you can because you just never know. Like we were at this networking event that was for something completely different, and 45 minutes into it, we're talking about collectively buying storage units and potentially businesses. Again, that wasn't the whole purpose of this meeting, or it wasn't even a meeting. It was a networking event. It was more on the tech and the marketing side, but you just never know where conversations go. And it's again, you never know who anybody you never know who anybody is, what they're capable of, what their connections are, and what they actually do for a living. So there were some individuals there that were just very cool, very calm, very collective. You would think that they're retired, but the more you talk to them, the bigger that you can see that these people are doing in life and what their Rolodex looks like. And again, it's all leveraging people, their relationships, but also not just taking, but giving back. You want to leave somebody in a better situation than when they first met you. I know, Michelle, that you and I are very big believers in regards to that. So again, for communities, I would say it's been a huge hack for me, personal and professionally, is getting into these rooms. And I'll be honest, I don't know what your first experience was. Um, but I know we've talked about it in a previous show. My first buy-in into a mastermind was 50,000 to start. And then from there, quickly, I would say within a couple months, I joined the second one. And again, I was in rooms with people that were worth a couple $1 million to making almost $500 million a year to a couple billionaires in the room. And the first time I walked into that type of room, I was extremely uncomfortable, like extremely uncomfortable. I'm like, I have no business being in here. I'm a dirt poor Mexican by the standards of everybody else in the room from East LA. I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, I almost packed my stuff up and just left within half of a day of the first mastermind because some of the stuff that these people were talking about was just some next level stuff, like conversations that I had never heard about. Luckily, very good friend still to this day. He's like, hey, if you're in this room, you've earned being in this room. Take advantage of it. Have conversations with people. Learn from people because whatever you're currently dealing with or what you're stuck with, there's a good chance that somebody went through this 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and they might have that missing piece of what you're looking for. And 100% that's true. And having that conversation, that 2-minute conversation, dramatically changed my mindset and the way that I was processing things. And the fact that, like he said, I've earned the right to walk into the room. I obviously did something in life to be in that room, and I might as well maximize the opportunity and the relationships in that room. So I'm very big on it, on groups. I know some people think it's silly to kind of spend on it. We're a part of free groups, and there's still a benefit in it. Is it a little bit different than when you pay for it? Yeah, I would say so, because you have more skin in the game. Sometimes you almost have to qualify to get into there. I know we were having a conversation earlier to somebody that we know was at one of their masterminds, and I think just to walk into that room? Is it 10 million, $15 million of annual revenue that they had to do to qualify basically to get into this specific room? Was that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is that you get to a certain point in your career, like yes, the free is going to be there, but it's just the way we're programmed. If you're going to pay for a gym membership that's $30, or 25 or $10 a month, how often do you go to that gym membership? Versus if you paid 149, 249 a month, you're going to maximize it. So when you are looking to continue to grow and move forward, you want to make sure that and it sounds crazy, but it stings a little bit. And as entrepreneurs, most of the time it stings is our wallet. And I will say yes, in free communities and going to those, I do get, there's always a time and a place. There's a time for you to serve, and there's a time that you have to actually be able to grow. And so it really just depends. And you can find those in any, I think, one of the things that we do when we go out to dinner, and this is not all the time, but some of the times we go literally and to go sit at the bar, and it's intentionally because we're not in an actual by ourselves at a table. So we have to have conversations. And one of the things that I was going to say about what you and I have said in the past, I think a lot of times if we're already taken away from our family, we're taking time to get dressed, we're getting actually at the event, and you just do a disservice to yourself by just sitting in the corner, or which I promise you, most people have done this. You cling on to the first person that you meet and you're with and talking to them for 30, 45 minutes. You don't even have anything else to talk about. What's the point of going to the event? I know that you and I've had conversations before because we're not always 100% when we go to these events. Sometimes we have to force ourselves, that we've had regrets. And I will tell you that I've had regrets because I've been with Dan Fleshman in the room. Fleischman. I've been in the rooms with Billie Jean. And when I say rooms, I paid already a $10,000 entry fee to be a part of this group. I was just new to the group and networking and masterminds. I didn't realize how much I could have that could have impacted my life by not having those conversations because I was too scared. And this is before I met you, obviously. And when I see these people on stages now, I'm like, yo, I was in a room with 15 people and we had dinner. One of the things that one of my biggest regrets is never really talking to Boss Lee, which is Jessie Lee. I remember she came to one of our events, and it was with the same mastermind. And we were all doing a boating event afterwards, or after we did the whole mastermind, and there was a boating event for the evening. And she just came and she was super quiet. And if you don't know who she is, look her up. Unfortunately, she's passed. She's gone to heaven a couple of years ago. But I didn't talk to her, and she was standing right next to me, and we're all guilty of it. I kind of judged her. I'm like, why does she have that pink hair and all of this? And I don't remember. There was something about, but I should have talked to her. And the next day, she was the freaking best speaker. And at that time, Mom and I were going to these events, and I'm like, Mom, oh my God, the way that she is the way that I want to be on stage. She's no F's given. She's telling you how it is with love and care. She's talking about how she's built her businesses, I was literally 5 inches away from her. And at that time, we do it now as far as we push each other. Because I remember if we want to meet someone, and it's one of those things I take in with Mel Robbins, her book, as well, is the 5-second rule. And it's a countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So a lot of the times when I'm fearful or scared to talk to people, I put that on my head because you know what, guys? What if you don't get the chance to actually talk to the person that could change your life? I mean, I've been with Ed Milet where we could have had conversation and I chose not to because I was fearful. And I think the biggest thing is Boss Lee has stayed with me because of that. Because when she passed away, I was so devastated. We were actually at a wedding in Houston, and you told me, I don't want to tell you what just happened. And she had passed. And I will say, oh my God, I'm gonna get teared up. That has been one of my biggest regrets because I wanted to meet her and I was in that vicinity. So my point to you guys, like when you're going to these events, when you see these people, we're all the same people as far as putting one pant leg at a time, one leg, pant leg at a time.
I think
Oh
we
my
understand
God.
what you're saying. No, but yeah,
And
mm,
you know, if you have the opportunity, obviously don't ambush anybody, but do it because you don't know what they could
I'm
do to
gonna say
you.
ambush somebody.
I think you did that to Billie Jean at Jen's event.
Oh, every time I see him, it's always got to try to get in his face. So I know it was at Jen's event, then we saw him at WWE, and then we saw him at the Mike Tyson fight, and just about everywhere else. So it's just trying to just have that connection. I'm like, oh, these people are going to remember who I am. So no, but I mean, I agree with you. It's like anything else, it's a muscle. You got to work it out, and the more you work it out, the better you get at it. I know that now, like whenever we go to networking events, we usually try to separate and we'll work the room separately. And it's funny when we get together at the end of the event or the end of the night, whether we are driving back home or it's out of the city and we're staying somewhere in a hotel, we always say, I'm like, oh, who did you talk to? Oh, who did you talk to? Oh, I'm like, oh, I talked to that girl with the red jacket. Like, I talked to the girl with the red jacket. Oh, I talked to the guy with this on. Like, oh my God, I talked to that person too. So it's funny that you can, and again, it's not 100%, but we've been pretty damn spot on to where you can kind of tell who you should talk to. I'm like, I don't know what it is about this person. I don't know what they do, but there's something telling me that I got to go and talk to them. And we usually pick out the same 2 to 5 people in a room. Sometimes it's, 50 people, sometimes it's a couple hundred, sometimes it's 1,000 people, and you can kind of just pick up on it. It's just the swagger that these people carry. It's the way, I won't necessarily say it's the way that they're dressed, but it's definitely the way that they carry themselves. It has nothing to do with having, $2,000 red bottom shoes or anything like that, because I've known some very successful people that almost look homeless. I've known some very successful people that are, in Docker shorts and a Hawaiian shirt, and like, oh my God, this person's got no fashion sense. Um, and yet, you'll meet some people that are all about being flashy, and it's kind of fake, but you can just kind of tell when you're around it, and like I said, you practice and you flex that muscle. You can just tell who you absolutely have to talk to. And I think we've gotten really good at it. I think you're getting better at it. I think for me, and it's not that I'm tooting my own horn, but I very much have gotten out of my own way. And again, this wasn't anything I was born with. It's something that I've worked at, that you're like, okay, well, if I want to know something, I'm going to ask. If I want to go talk to that person, I'm going to go ask. Like, we've gotten behind these red ropes. We've gotten into events that we shouldn't have been into just because you walk in confidently. If you walk into the place like you own it, most people aren't going to stop you because you look like you belong there. And the most recent thing is, I know we had gone to see, I don't know if it's a musical or a play. I'm not sure what we want to call it, but there was a couple that was sitting almost dead center, and I think you picked them up. And you're like, I don't know who those people are, is up, but they look important. I don't know if this is their playhouse. I don't know if this is their whole thing. I'm like, I don't know, but there's something about them. And I happen to look over. I'm like, I think you're right. I don't know who they are, but they look important. And so at the end, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go talk to him. And I had even told you, I'm like, you want to go there? Like, no, I don't want to go talk to him. I'm like, all nervous. I'm like, well, I'm nervous too, but I want to know. And it turns out that they were like the main people that were here from a different country, basically overseeing it. We had a pretty good conversation, even with a small language barrier. And it's just amazing that you can build those relationships with people and try to build some real rapport. I think you had even
I
exchanged
think,
numbers with them.
yeah, I mean, that was a little bit of liquor courage as well. I think, it was
There's
the
nothing wrong with
she,
that. Nothing wrong with that.
there
As long
was
as you don't
a,
come
it
off
was
as a
a,
fool.
Shane Yun Performing Arts, the nonprofit. So I took Vin for an anniversary, or I bought tickets for the anniversary. We had some pretty sick ticket seats. But yeah, I'm always observant and knowing when the people are in the room and stuff. But definitely, there have been times, like I said, I'm not perfect, that Vin will push me or I push him, but mostly he pushes me and he doesn't have a care in the world to go and do something. I think the one thing that comes to mind is there'll be like we're in real estate, and there's like a house that's like looks abandoned, and I don't know, and he'll be like, okay, let's go knock on the door. And I'm like, nope. And he's like, why? And then he'll just go do it. And then I go behind him, and then all of a sudden then there's a deal that can be made or something. But that was the same thing with the performing arts. And then all of a sudden I got interviewed, and then when we exchanged numbers, and then they were trying, and then
Your face is
they were
probably traveling the world right now, and you don't even know it.
it probably is. I gotta look it up. And then they were trying to sell us to come back tomorrow or the following day and the following day. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're good at your job. It was a very good performing arts. It was here in San Antonio at Tobin. But yeah, those kind of things. And before I had a Vin in my life, because some of you may say, oh, well, I don't have a Vin in my life or a Michelle. I would go with friends and we would go to networking events, and I'm like, yeah, like, let's make it intentional. I lived in Miami at that time, and oh my gosh, I say networking events at that time, it was a time to an excuse to party and drink and so forth. It's not as crazy in San Antonio there, or maybe I've just matured.
Now,
But
let me stop you there, so for everybody that's listening. Again, the Liquid Courage was at a social event that we were out to celebrate. This is just me. There's no right or wrong, but I do not drink when I'm out working slash networking because I want to be 100% in the moment, and make sure that I'm understanding and not saying anything. So I can make myself look stupid, no problem. I don't need the Liquid Courage, if you will, to do all that. That's just me. Now, have we had drinks the night of? 100%, but it's usually on the back end or somewhere else or during dinner. That's just my preference. No right or wrong.
yep. I usually have a glass of wine in my hand. So, except for right now. Right now, I have a goal in mind. I have to hit a sales goal before I drink. And so, I hope I can hit it before the end of the year because, or at least by my birthday, because, and maybe that's why I'm doing subconsciously all these calls and stuff and trying to make deals because I was like, what can I take away that I know is going, and not
That
that I have an
pain
alcohol,
point.
huh?
I said that pain point. What's going to hurt if I take it away?
Well, I like to have a glass of wine after, like today would be a perfect day to have a glass of wine because I feel I was so successful in having 10 back-to-back calls and meeting people. And I closed, or we're getting close to closing a deal, and the deal's not closed until the money hits the bank, but we're 80% there. And I was like, it was exciting because I was like doing, some deals and stuff. So today would be a good day to have a glass of wine. But considering that I've done this challenge, I have someone in my corner that holds me accountable and reminds me I can't do it until I hit my new sales goal. So basically, it's hit the sales goal and then we celebrate. And my birthday's in a couple of months, so I hope that sales goal happens sooner than not. If not, it's going to be a dry 40-year birthday.
Damn.
So,
So no,
but
so yeah, and
Tell me,
that's
tell me the most successful story because we want to make sure that our listeners are listening, and this is all about networking and community. Who is it like the best person you feel that you've ever met? That you've shaken their hand, you've followed up with them,
ooh.
and the best, like, I don't know, the best, not the best thing in your life because I'm the best thing in your life, but helped you
You sure
move
you're an
forward.
introvert? I'm just saying. Um, geez, I've met some really good people, and we still have obviously a relationship with them, and by osmosis, you have relationships with them as well. Um, I know we're part of Masterminds. We have mentors. I consider some people very good mentors that whenever I or we are stuck, it's usually the first people that I
I,
reach
I
out
just
to.
wanted, I want an answer, buddy.
It's that's a hard one. Because it depends on it. It depends on what it would be. I would say probably the biggest connection or just an emotional thing. Ooh, actually, I just thought of two. I think of two people that just moved me emotionally and spiritually. Had nothing to do with business. So I know we've spent a lot of money on education, and I've probably 10x of that investment in myself. But I would say on an emotional, spiritual, higher plane, whatever you want to call it, level, my first go to would be Ed Milet. So
Um,
we've had the privilege of being around him more than once. Um, I know that right now he's having some health issues and he's not out as much as he used to be. More recently, Tony Robbins. So I know we were with Tony Robbins
that was a
two,
good
three
one.
weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I was under the weather. I didn't get to have the full life experience, but it was good. It was a good one. Trying to think for me. It's no one famous, but this individual has been in my life for the last decade. And he was the first person to ever come up to me at a finance networking event. And we have been able to stay connected constantly. He has a nonprofit that I'm still part of and I'm on the board for. And great individual. And it's crazy because that individual, every single time I did not want to go meet him at an event because I was so exhausted and tired. I got myself up, got myself out of the way, and every time I went to the event, it was worth it. I met people. And in fact, like he, reaching out to me just recently, just today, connecting me again. So just know, guys, like what I'm doing right now. Um, I'm obviously in front of my computer and stuff as far as when I was doing these calls today. But I want to kind of leave you guys with this. When I put someone in my system, and this is the beauty of technology and the way we have things in my CRM, I'll tag them. Like, where are they at? What are they currently doing in their life? And what is their superpower? And then what is it that they're currently either struggling with or having challenges with? And because now that we have CRMs, you can even do this on an Excel spreadsheet and do control find. But we have, the CRMs. I can
I'm like
quickly
that is some nerd stuff right there because I didn't even know what that was. That's some next level nerd.
control F.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, Atlanta. We have problems if you don't know what that means. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so the CRM, a customer relationship management software system. I'm able to I put my notes in, but you're able to also know where those people are. Because have you ever felt like, dang, I met someone, but I don't remember? And so a lot of what I try to do is know who I've met and then try to connect those individuals, because at the end of the day, no matter what, someone is able to help someone, and it's probably through the point of you helping them, and connecting. And I have been super successful in my businesses because of that. It may not be that I get a monetary, kickback or commission off that building that relationship or connecting that relationship, but it's just reciprocated in other ways. It is always, and the good thing about it is that if you do those things and later on in life, you never know those individuals, how that comes back in a full circle. And it may not be just with them, but it's just, what is it? It's just, there's a word for it, but it's just doing good, doing well, and being able
Reciprocate,
to,
good
yeah,
karma.
but yeah, it's like reciprocate. I don't know.
Mhm. No,
But
yeah,
I
I'm
just think,
mhm.
yeah, I think it's just always having good in the world, right? Always comes back and having those intentions. But also be mindful, guys. Like today was a good win, but I was a little frustrated because there was a couple of no call, no shows. And people schedule on my calendar to talk to me. I didn't schedule for them. The common courtesy would just be like, I can't make it. And I know things happen, but it's just value your time and also value other people's time when you're trying to network and get together. And understand, like, I have it down to a science now. I only do 20 minutes, and I learned that from Ed Milet, which is also learned that from Ben. you can get to know somebody pretty quickly in 20 minutes on your first introduction to see if this is even a good fit for you right now in your season or what that looks like. And then you can always have conversations later that will be able to continue to move the needle forward. But 20 minutes is very doable. Obviously, I was doing speed dating earlier, so I was like done with my stuff. Like we were done, and then we had some time left over. It takes practice to be able to do it. But even Vin was like, "There's no way that you could do it in 20 minutes." I've been doing it, and it's been awesome.
I will say that muscles gotten better with you because it wasn't always there, and I'm guilty of it too. It's again anything that you do and you're consistent, and that's the beauty of it. Like I said, I love what we're doing. I love how intentional you are. Um, Anything that you're doing, be consistent at it. Like you said, this is only a couple days, and literally from being a part of this group and being a part of this group, you've literally have produced dollar bills for our household from thin air by just being consistent and talking to people and outreaching and networking and then being a connector. That's it's amazing. It definitely is being creative and being intentional, and you just never know where these relationships are going to go. It'll get to the point where like, oh, okay, well, if you know you need a capital raise or you're stuck and you just don't know who to turn. Oh, you know who you should call? You should call Michelle and Vin. You should call Michelle and Vin. Either they can help you or they know somebody or they'll connect you to so and so. And that's the beauty of it. You just want to try to stay top of mind and just really try to be intentional and give back with good intentions. I love what you said earlier in regards to just trying to do right. And I'm gonna be very careful with what I'm about to say because it is coming from a good place. It's not trying to manipulate a situation or manipulate a person. But when you go above and beyond, and it doesn't even have to be a lot, if you just leave somebody in a better place or help them with something that they're stuck with or just can't figure it out, they feel more obligated to help you when you need something. And I don't say that to take advantage of the situation or take advantage of a person. We all get stuck. We get stuck. I recently had a bad day and it's just like, I just don't want to do anything. I want to just lay here in bed and just kind of take today off. I'm guilty of it. I know you're guilty of it. We're human. But whenever you do get stuck in that situation, and you have a network or you've had people that be like, hey, do you know anybody that can help me do this? Do you know anybody that can help me with that? Can you connect me to so and so? If you've helped people genuinely, it's so much easier to try to get other people to help you in your time of need, to whatever degree that might be. So that's why I say that very, very carefully, very gingerly, because it's not, hey, I did something for you, so now you owe me something. That's not what I'm saying, because there's been plenty of times that you and I have helped people and we don't expect anything back and we never ask for anything. But it sure is nice knowing that if we get stuck with something and we call somebody, even if it's just to try to connect us, that we know that they're going to answer the phone. That gives me a lot of peace of mind, and I would assume that you feel the same way in regards to that as well.
No, absolutely. And one of the things that you mentioned right now, and so I want to wrap this up, but no, figure out what your superpower is, and it could be your superpower for the season. And really, really let people know what that looks like. You want somebody to remember you for something. Like Vin just mentioned, everybody knows that we are in real estate and capital raising. Yes, we do midterm rentals. Yes, we have done but we want to be known as the money person, and that is just because that's what we've been doing for the last few years. Yes, so you want to be known for something. And it can change over the years. I have friends that knew me as the GC. I was a general contractor for 4 or 5 years, and that's what they knew me as a general contractor for rehabs. And yes, as you evolve, it can. But everybody right now knows us as the capital raisers. Or if you are trying to get into a deal with real estate, go to Michelle and Ben. And I kind of like that, right? I because of everything we're doing and we're building right now. And even if I am not a capital raiser for other people's deals or I can't find the money, even though I did that today, you can know people, and that's like building your community. And be intentional when you are networking, because you do You want to, you just don't want to go network just to network. Like, don't go. I mean, if you're going into real estate, I mean, everything's around in real estate, but don't go to, like, I don't know, a pig farm networking event, because that doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, that is real estate. They have some acreage there. I want to know, how do I go about buying some acreage? And if they throw the
There you
pig
go.
in, then that's a plus. So no, I 100% agree with you.
Let's wrap this up. Any final words, sir?
Be intentional with your time, because that is one commodity that we can make more of. They say the same thing about real estate, but I'd rather have more time than real estate, especially at this phase of my life.
Oh, we're gonna edit that and put that as like the thing at the beginning of this call. And that's good. That's powerful. That's a good way to end this. Well, I appreciate you guys if you stayed all the way to the end and checked out and continued with us. I hope you got some tips and tricks about networking and building a community and how important it is. We are human beings. AI will not take over that part of things. AI will make other things simpler. But just to let you guys know, we'll continue to hopefully give you more information. And we hope that by our story and sharing what we are doing in our current lives inspires you to continue to build your legacy and build your empire. So have a good evening and bye for now.